Hey guys, how's it going? It's me, Tracilyn, also known as VCat. I'm back with you again. Before we go down to the Swati that I was telling you about, that we spent a lot of time at, I wanted to take you back in a time that I remember when we still lived at that trailer. We're gonna call that Home 1. It's the first place I lived after coming directly out of the hospital in my mother's arms. My mother, she loved to take us for rides in our blue Pinto. And remember, the kids used to love sitting in the back. And it was a hatchback in the back seat where you could lay it down. So we had all the kids. And sometimes when our cousins would come along, oh, just wait till I tell you about that. That was a whole nother story. My mom loved to entertain children. And eventually I will share with you about how everybody in our neighborhoods always called her Mom. Everybody loved her. She was a partier, celebrator of life, and she loved children, especially her own. So, back in the day, she used to like to take us for joy rides. It was stick shift, so I had to be careful where I sat, but she didn't mind. A lot of times I would stand. I don't recommend that on any children. Always be strapped safely. And trust me, I'll share with you the importance of that. That's later on, though. Right now, we're back to the times when you could get away with that, and it was okay in my head and everybody else's head. So, usually I would be standing in the center, holding on to her shoulders, laughing, because I thought it was so funny. And look at this road here. See how curvy that is? This road curves around. And remember, we're back in the country, at least here in Pennsylvania, what we call the country. And I always liked these roads because as a kid growing up, my mother had it embedded in my head that these country roads were made for racing. Joyriding. Oh yes, and lots of fun. Back in the time, there was we had a lot of rain through periods of time, and because we live here at the Swati, or by the Swati, would run through near our local neighborhood, a lot of times these bridges, which I'm standing at, would be flooded. So much that it would come down here to the end of the railing, approximately, okay? Now I want you to look up here at that curvy road. And you gotta understand, especially at nighttime, when you're rushing down through here, racing down through here, in a car, as a 2 or a 3-year-old, to you, it's just, remember that house that I told you it seemed like it was so long and so big was our yard? Well, imagine as a kid what you're thinking in your head when your mother is racing the car. Down a country road, trees are all over, you know, it looks like you're going 100 miles an hour, but you're probably only doing 40 or 50. Like this guy right here. And these Swatis would fill up very quickly. And sometimes the water level would come up to about where I'm standing at. So you can imagine, especially as a child, what that looks like with water racing across that bridge as well. But it was very unique to me. I remember that feeling, wow. It was like there was a wall of water here. A wall of water. It wasn't like, it didn't appear to me as a child, but I'm sure, obviously, it was deep there, and then it started to smooth out here a little bit and blend in with the rain and the water that was already on the street up farther. But to me, it wasn't like that at all. It looked like a wall, like my hands right now, was put right in front of me of water. Could this be the reason why I'm scared of water? I'm not much of a swimmer. I don't like to go anywhere past my chest nowadays, but it used to be my waist. And I'll explain some of that a little bit later too. So wall water. And she used to love to terrify us. Remember I told you there was ghost stories. Well, the second one was driving her car really fast and pretending like she was gonna drive into it. So she came racing down this road. This all happened in one night specifically that I'm going to be explaining. racing down this road, and it was dry because this was after it was done raining, and basically the waters were just overflowing. You know, the Swati was overflowing with water. And she came racing down through here, and she would wait until she was almost right on top of it before she would hit the brakes. She would always put her arm back because she didn't want me to get hurt. And we would laugh. We would all be screaming. Imagine this. We're coming racing down the road. I'm standing up there. I'm so excited. My mommy's so funny, you know? And we're coming around that corner. And then she would slam on the brakes just before we almost went into the water. And we'd all be screaming, no, Mommy, and I would cry, no, Mommy, no, Mommy, no, no, no. And everybody'd be laughing. I was a sissy. I cried a lot. She might stop like about here. See where that railing is, where that car just went by now? That's where approximately the water started, but it looked like a wall to me. She would stop, and then she would let off the brake, and she would start to go faster. You know, she'd step on the gas, and then we'd jump, and then we'd stop, and I would be crying, no, Mommy, no. And the biggest thing is because I loved her, and I didn't want her to get hurt. And that's exactly what I told her all the time. I don't want you to get hurt, Mamie. Stop it, stop it. I wasn't thinking I'm going to get hurt or anybody else in the car. I didn't want my mother hurt. So, one night specifically, of course, we did this in the Pinto. She used to love getting all of her children in the car and going for long rides on country roads. And a lot of times it was going fast. She used to love go speeding with us in the car. She was always safe, and not one time did she get into an accident. Nope. She's always very good. I'm going to have all kinds of stories to share with that. But for now, we're going back to the time when I was, what? 1 to 3 years old. I remember this stuff, you know. These were fun years of my life. And, so over here by the bridge, which we didn't spend a lot of time down in this area. For some reason, even, like, I'm an energy person, as you get to understand. I'm all about energy. And for some reason, this just doesn't move me to be in this area. It's beautiful and all. What I will share with you really quick is, of course, remember I said that my dad eventually just lived here. And he moved on. He had, a girlfriend or a wife or what have you. She usually had children. So I had extra brothers and sisters to become friends with. He was a gun. He would use his gun and he'd go out shooting sometimes. He'd let his dog run. And we used to walk back here, and my uncle, and they would go hunting. I forget exactly what all for, but I just remember I never liked guns. Even at that age, I do not like guns. But I'm not against other people having them, and I think they should, especially those who know how to use them safely. But I was so proud of him. Remember, it's just like the barrel when he would light that. I just thought he was so brave. Or whoever it was, my mother, my grandmother, my grandpa. I just remember how brave that I thought that they were because they can light fire. Well, when my dad would be walking down through here with his gun, I used to think, I'm so safe. And same with his uncle. Or his brother. His brother who was my uncle, not his uncle. His uncle who was my brother. Or no, his brother who was my uncle. I used to look up to both of them very much. I was very attracted to his brother. I never told him that. And I just remember that when he would come over to visit us, he was married to a lady who was a nurse. And I admired her a lot. And you'll find out as I share my story that even as a child, I was attracted to men. And women, I wanted to be more like, you know. I admired their beauty, and I wanted to be beautiful like a woman, the femininity of a woman. And the masculinity of a man is what I was very attracted to. As we look at man and woman, or we used to, even back then. I was very attracted to men, especially older men for some reason. I always loved the scruff. When my grandfather, of course, would hold me, he always had 5 o'clock shadow. It never failed. He always did. And he always looked very professional. But, you know, and I'm talking about my grandfather on my father's side. It would always look very professional. And remember, I wanted to be like him, business-wise. Everybody loved him. He was talk of the town as the ice cream man. And something that I admired a lot about him, and don't get this wrong, but he always had money with him. And now that he's kind of moved on, I can share with you, without giving you any kind of sums because I don't know myself, but I remember he had wads of money with him at that time. Always on him. He was a very hard worker. He would start about 4 o'clock in the morning, you know, early, 3:30, 3 o'clock, and he would be gone until it was dark. That's usually when he would come home about. In the summer it might have been 6, 7 o'clock, but I just remember him coming back in the dark in later years. And something that I really admired about him outside of that was his love for me. And you will learn as I go through this that he was the one person in our family that, at least to my presence, didn't judge me. He didn't seem to judge anybody. He just loved them. So therefore, I wanted to be more like him because he was a successful businessman, but also because his faith was Christian. You know, he was a Christian man. But he wasn't like most Christians that I've met in my walk of life. He's very different. One thing that I liked about him, I was not attracted to him, mind you, in any other way, but was his scruff. And when he would hold me and he'd rub up against me, and I would be like, stop it! Get away from me! But really what I was saying, do it again. Can you rub it up against me again? Because I did like it, and it would always make me laugh. So, and as well, probably the first men in my life that I was attracted to was, you know, I really admired my dad, I really admired my mother, my dad's brother, which is my uncle. I really was attracted to him a lot. He reminded me from somebody from the Dukes of Hazzard. I think it was Luke, if you remember the Dukes of Hazzard show. And what's real weird about this, you know, I don't know if the Dukes was out at that time. I'm talking later years, is, you know, because, and you'll find out as I go on. I'm kind of jumping around a little bit here. Hopefully I'll get a little more organized. Here comes a truck. Hold on. But anyway, so I throughout my life, because I was consumed with television shows more than I should have been, I applied it to my own life, and I would recognize people as looking like certain characters. Well, I would say that my dad reminded me of Chris Christopherson. You know who he is. He wrote the song Bobby McGee, and he was in Convoy with, you know, the rubber ducky, and it was a truck almost exactly like my dad used to drive, you know, and my dad looked very similar, not identical, but similar. He had a lot of similar features, and maybe it was just the truck, you know, maybe it wasn't his physical features, maybe it was the truck. So I always found guys with trucks to be very attractive. You know, big toys, I guess you could say. But his brother, he reminded me of who? Luke. Luke Duke. And he used to always have scruff on his face too. And he used to tackle me and do that too. And I really didn't like it because it hurt. He would do it and it would hurt me. My grandpa did it gently. Gentle? Rough. Oh, no, not rough. Gentle. See how we learn? So, and my grandmother, who was my dad's mother, them two, the grandparents, they stuck together their whole life. They used to take me and my sister out to like spaghetti dinners, like with church functions and stuff on the weekends. So we would go with them to stuff like that. We loved to go with them out to eat. And like I said, my grandparents on my dad's side never really seemed to judge anybody too much. And they always seemed to be neutral and try to explain out if we had a problem maybe with, you know, as we grow up, we have different things or qualms, you know, maybe it was about our dad or maybe it was about another brother or sister or cousin or something. They always seemed to be peacemakers. And they wouldn't judge no matter if it was somebody else's fault or how it was perceived as being somebody else's fault. They would always stay neutral and just try to get us to have forgiveness, and you know, they would find the reason that possibly what was going on with the other person. And they would always try to do, especially my grandmother. She was more of a talker. My grandpa was very quiet man. But my grandmother, she talked to us all the time. She made time for us, and she had long hair. You talk about Cher having long hair. Let me tell you, back in the day, I don't know if too many ladies actually cut their hair. And it was cute because she would wear it up, you know, kind of curled up, and in a bonnet, you know? And that was a big thing with my grandparents. You did not cut your hair. And let me tell you something. Cher had long hair. We all know that Cher had long hair, right? Back in the 70s. Well, my grandmother had long hair too. It was amazing. You know, beautiful, beautiful. I'm sorry if you can't see me too good here while I'm holding this. Let's try the other arm. So as I'm walking along the bridge, look at the water. Isn't that so beautiful? So my grandfather was a successful, quiet Christian man type, very family oriented. My dad, of course, reminded me of Chris Christopherson, especially later years, and you'll find out more about that. It wasn't during my toddler years, it wasn't like that. So I'm kind of mixing things up here a little bit. But I'm just trying to kind of give you characters, because that's the way that I kind of remember people as well, you know? Don't you do that? Do you do that? Do you remember people or relate with people so in your memory? Do you connect them with movies that you may have watched as a child growing up? Do you connect people with different programs that you watch today? You know? Let me know. Do me a favor and leave a comment down below this video. You know, share, you know, like I said in the first video, I really want you guys to share with me your life as well. This is not one-sided. This is my opportunity to connect with others out there in cyberspace. You. I want to connect with you. I want to hear your story. So I connect myself with personality types in movies and television shows, and you will hear a lot about that. For now, my dad reminded me of Chris Christopherson as a convoy. Whoa! And my grandfather, or my uncle, on my dad's side, he reminded me of who? Luke. Duke. And you will find out that the Dukes of Hazzard really impacted my life greatly. Oh, it was horrible, I'm telling you. Not horrible, it was horrible at the time, maybe. I understand more now about myself because of the Dukes. One of my cars that I've always dreamt of having was a General Lee. Only I didn't want just a regular General Lee. I wanted a souped up General Lee, you know, with big fat tires on the back, jacked up just a little bit. Yeah, like that. See? And loud, of course. I don't know if I'd want that all now. The General Lee is my all-time favorite car ever. What about yours? What's your favorite car? Do you like the newer, sportier cars? What about my car right here? I see my little red car. I like little sporty cars too. I like all kinds of cars. And you'll find that I love muscle cars a lot. I'm old school. And it's just because, I guess, my generation, what I grew up in. But I also have appreciation for all things, all music. I don't watch too much television anymore, or movies. want to word this properly so nobody really totally misunderstands me. I'm not trying to, I want to say this as nice as I can. I like the realness of life. Since computer technology and everything has come along, yes, it has worked to our advantage in so many ways. But it has also separated us from so much. But it has opened up new avenues for things like this, right? So there's good and bad in everything. And let's just say that I'm grateful the technology's there. But like when I go see a movie or a television show, I'm old school. And there's something to say about the naturalness of recording a movie and a film without all the other technology. So I guess there's room for both, right? I guess there's room for both. What do you think about that? I'm curious to know about that. How do you feel about the way things were years ago? Because I know that on the internet now it's wonderful, right? You can connect with people from around the world and make new friends. And as well, you can see all kinds of movies. We all know that, don't we? Shh. I promise not to tell anybody how you get to stream your movies. Download your music. Be careful with that, okay? Some people are living on the street. Some people are living in hotel rooms. You know, be supportive of the people that you really take a liking to, especially. But what about you? How do you feel about the technology? How do you feel about the combination of technology and the realness? Have we lost ourselves a little bit, maybe? Some of us, or maybe some of us do for a season and we find ourselves. I want to know. I want to know about you. Yes. I want to know about you. So don't be shy. Leave me a comment. If you don't feel good about leaving a comment publicly, don't forget you can go into my Facebook page. It's facebook.com/Tracilyn21. You can always type into my website too at tracilyn.com, and from there you can get to know more. Download free music, absolutely free. See some pictures of me, connect with me, be surprised what you find of me out there. I'm going to move on down to the Swati before it gets much later. I think this battery looks like it may be losing itself a little bit. We have to re-energize. Plus I'm going to have to upload this. I'm going to try very hard not to edit, because this is a lot. I'm trying over the next few weeks to share my entire 40-year life journey without going into too much detail. And I got to be honest with you, it's the first time that I've done it this way. So be gentle with me, okay? And share with me your life. Reflect back a little bit with me, would you? Right now we're on the years 1 through 3, or birth through 3. Where were you born? Who took care of you? Although we had some trials and errors, what are some of the fun things that you remember? And sharing time with? What did you enjoy? Even if it's now. Whether you were born yesterday, and somehow you got on a computer and you found me. Or maybe you're 90 years old. I want to know, what was life like back for you? See, often a lot of times, the way things were years and years ago and what people had to go through, this generation might not fully be aware of. So this is an opportunity for you to share your life, whether you're 1 day old, or if you're 5, this many. I'm only this many. Or if you're 90 or 109. I want to learn about you, and I know other people as well. They want to meet other people that are real on the internet. This is our opportunity to share. Love you. I don't need to know you. I love you. So know you were loved, okay? We're going to move on to the next location. This battery's almost ready to die. It needs more energy. It needs more energy. It needs more energy. Peace out. Truck. Hey, he smiled at me. Maybe he'll take me for a ride.